Hey everybody, you are listening to the Soberful podcast. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Chip.
How you doing, Chip?
Well, I thought I was doing fine till I said that, and then my voice got all croaky, and I think I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm good. My daughter got married a couple of weeks ago.
That's amazing. 2 years sober, right?
Nearly 2 years sober, just under 2 years sober. Great husband, really lovely fellowship wedding, and it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, really lovely, really lovely.
You're a recovery family, really, aren't you?
We are, yeah, now completely, yeah. I mean, she's in recovery, eating disorder recovery. I'm in recovery. My son is in recovery. My daughter is in recovery. My ex-wife is in recovery. Yeah, we're quite hefty. Yeah, quite hefty in the old recovery front there.
The power of the 12 steps. Well, congratulations to Sophie. That's really lovely
good
news. Really nice.
Yeah, really good.
Well, we're going to be talking today about managing our feelings in recovery. And this is prompted by an email. And this is from Chloe. So Chloe, apologies, Chloe. Chloe sent this at the end of May. It took us this long to get around to it. But thank you for sending this. And we're quite happy if you have like something you want us to talk about. Feel free to email. You can email at info@soberful.com if you have a question or topic that you would like us to cover. So I'm going to read Sophie's email. She says all the usual things at the beginning about the amazing podcast and
Good.
I was wondering whether you might speak about something I am struggling with in recovery. I find it difficult to balance the management of my thoughts and impulses. On one side, I know that my default is to be a selfish, self-centered alcoholic with character defects aplenty. This requires me to challenge my thinking and behavior. On the other side, I know I shouldn't suppress and try to change everything about myself. And I sometimes end up gaslighting myself out of my feelings. This shows up particularly strongly in romantic relationships. Oh, Chloe, I hear you. I guess I am wondering whether you have any advice on how to find a balance between change and acceptance. My path to sobriety has been non-linear, spells of sobriety up to 3 years, 2 major relapses, currently 7 months sober. And I'm really having to face up to my emotional dysfunction to avoid going back to drinking yet again. It's gotten harder to get and stay sober every time. I feel like I'm constantly battling against myself to behave better, think better, and it's pretty exhausting. Any thoughts or reflections would be welcome. So I think that the umbrella topic is now you're sober. Mm-hmm. Welcome to your feelings and emotions. And how to manage them and deal with them. And it sounds like she's trying to do the right thing. Like the thing is, feelings they're really strong, right? And they're quite insistent on our attention. But she sounds like she's got some awareness that, hang on a minute, I don't want to overreact here. I don't want to, but I can't stop feeling what I'm feeling. So I don't want to suppress what I'm feeling, but I don't want to like just have a knee-jerk reaction to what I'm feeling. And I don't actually know what to do in all of that. I kind of remember feeling like that, actually.
I mean, certainly I can remember when I was sort of thinking about going into rehab or early days of recovery. Somebody drove me down to a treatment center I think we were going to go and visit somebody or something. And he was a really angry driver. And I sat there thinking, oh my God, I thought you were supposed to be in recovery and you're a really angry driver. You know, there's something really wrong here. And I remember I came back and I said to people, God, do you know so-and-so? He's really angry. You know, he can't control himself in the car at all. And I thought, oh, well, that's not going to be me, because when I get into recovery, I'm going to be so, I'll be so on top of my feelings and emotions and the things that trigger. I'm going to be just all over that. And sure enough, in early recovery, I was told quite clearly, Chip, these are your significant defects. These are the ones that are going to really stick with you. And for me, it was impatience, oversensitivity, fear of female criticism, and fear of abandonment. And I thought, okay, all right, okay, I'll have them fixed. And yes, that's. I'm surprised I haven't already fixed those while I've been in rehab, actually. But I'll, 40 years later, I think the only one I've got a handle on is my fear of abandonment, which I think obviously I don't want to be abandoned, but I think I know now that I can be abandoned and I'll survive, which is something I didn't think I could do before. But impatience is absolutely rampant in my life. I mean, I really act out on impatience. If I buy something on Amazon, do I want it to arrive on Friday or do I want it to arrive tomorrow on Amazon? Don't ask stupid questions. Of course I want it. I'm actually rather annoyed it's not here right now, actually. I want it
Parachuted
now.
to
I want it this evening. So, yes, my impatience plays out. I've got, actually, because I do so much driving, I'm quite a patient driver, fun enough, nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I want bad feelings to go away very quickly. I am a very impatient individual, and if I want something, I don't want to have to wait around for it. What's the other one? Oversensitivity. Yeah, I mean, I've got much better at it. I can identify it. I know where it comes from. I know what but do I still suffer from over? Yes, I do. Heidi will say to you, if she said to Heidi, "Is Chip oversensitive?" She'd go, duh, yeah, of course he is. And the other one is fear of criticism. Handle it, but I don't like it. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that I think there is an expectation, I think, amongst many people who come into recovery that once you get to a certain stage, you are kind of like a Zen Buddha and you don't get jealous and you don't get anxious and you don't get, whatever it is, angry or anything like that. You deal with everything with calmness and equanimity and with just serenity. And that's not my experience. My experience of people in long-term recovery is that we get, our feelings are still there. They're still there. They're not going to go away. Feelings and emotions are what make us different and human almost. And so I think I would be saying to Chloe, don't worry about those things. I mean, sometimes I think certainly in early recovery, my fear of criticism, my fear was too strong. It was too, I did carry it too far. I was, I was a chronic people pleaser going into recovery. And I think that lingered for quite a long time, much longer than I thought it would. But I think nowadays, I'm much better at, as she seems to be as well, I'm much better at identifying my feelings. But I absolutely do know that they're not going to go away. I am still going to get angry and I'm going to get hurt and I'm going to get whatever. But I think it's trying to identify, for me, the trick would be identify the ones that are really significant because there's a whole list of feelings. There's hundreds of them.
It's about identifying what's real.
Yeah.
And what's not real, isn't it? I feel what she's talking about, what I relate to, is that so for a long time, we outsourced the management of our emotions to substances. Any difficult or uncomfortable feelings, we had the answer, took care of it, didn't need to feel them. So when you stop drinking, you just got them. There's this huge tangle and they're very, very strong and powerful. And it's about untangling what's real here and what is a story I'm telling myself. And what's the story I'm telling myself will be based on past experiences, like what you're talking about with abandonment, right? That's based on childhood stuff usually. It's untangling that. And I think learning the skills, and I really think it's skill based, to navigate stuff effectively. Like we were having a little conversation beforehand about something and about just that's, whatever. Like we were both like, I ain't got time with it. We're not dealing with this. We haven't got time. Move on, right? But I know me 20-something years ago, I'd have been like, oh, what if they think this? And I'd have been a bit more, will they like me? But part of it, I think, is age and wisdom, part of it. But a lot of it is experience and skills of like, no, boundary, not dealing with that, sorry. Just not.
Yeah, and I definitely know that, I have got much better just accepting that I am a flawed character. I'm a flawed, I've got my flaws. I've got my assets as well, which is something that I think we're very slow, we're very slow at acknowledging. But I definitely know that in early recovery, especially in the first sort of two couple of years, maybe even, I thought that the aim was to become, completely in control of all my emotions. And I think I have made big strides with all of them, all the significant ones. I've never really been a sort of jealous person. I've never really been I think I've been very selfish. Obviously when I was using, it was profoundly selfish because it's a very selfish condition. But I think I've been unselfish. Those aren't the things but I know that my expectations of myself were that I had to get in control of everything. And I have got what you said. I know where everything comes from. I know,
Mm.
I've done enough work over my childhood and growing up and the things that formed me as an individual. I know where everything comes from, and I have got much, much better at dealing with things. For instance, if Heidi and I have a row, I will, try and understand what's going on. I would have sulked for about a day, and I've got that down to about 10 minutes now, and I can say what's going on with me without fear that she's going to run out the door.
Can I just ask you about that? Because it's really interesting. So, like, for instance, feelings of abandonment, right? We've both had, I think, very similar, that kind of the needy, don't leave me, codependency.
Yeah.
So back in the day, those feelings would come up and they felt like an emergency. Like I would just do anything to try and feel safe and not get you to leave me. And so I would act on it, right? And then those actions would just lead to a whole mess, right? So now I can't recall the last time I had that feeling. And I feel the same. I know I'd survive. I don't feel like,
which I think,
and it's like that sometimes I always feel like it's like a little engine that tries to get going. Sometimes the key turns but then I'm like, nah. Whereas before you'd turn the key and like it would roar, the engine would roar, and you kind of just have to hold on. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, yeah, I do. I mean, I definitely had a really bad abandonment at about 5 years, and it was painful and it was horrible and it was awful, but I survived it. And I think it was the survival of that made me change my fear of abandonment completely, because I thought, I didn't think you could survive this. I thought you were going to fall apart and and now I know, and I have enough confidence in myself to know that, I obviously wouldn't like it. I obviously would hate it, and I'd have a strong emotional reaction, but I'd be all right. I'd know that I would be all right. Not mostly, because I've got good support. I've got good friends. Which I didn't have at the beginning. I've got a group of people I know I could turn to and do turn to sort of bounce ideas about, and which I never had before. So I've got sort of tools and resources that I didn't have ever when I was using, and not in the early days of recovery either. It took me time to build up a kind of group of people that I trusted and I could ring up at any time and say, look, this is going on, I feel awful, and either get reassurance or get some advice and stuff like that. And I just know that whatever happened, there are people out there who will have my back and who will look after me, which is a new feeling. And it's made my fear of abandonment. I obviously wouldn't like it. Nobody does, but it wouldn't destroy me.
It wouldn't unanchor me the way that it used to. So what we're talking about here is previously, as adults, we responded to the fear of abandonment as children. Now we respond to them as adults, which is appropriate emotional responses to events. Like, it's not like, if our spouses walked out on us tomorrow, it's not like we wouldn't be sad or angry or upset. That would be an appropriate emotional response. It's that I think this is maybe what we're talking about is a lot of the stuff that we can't manage is we're still responding from children, right? Like when children can't manage their emotions. My youngest had a meltdown this morning because we were late. And children cannot emotionally self-regulate. Adults can. And if you can't do that, you can learn how to do it. There's skills based involved in that.
I agree completely. I think just sort of having you said about self-regulation there, but having so much more knowledge about myself, about how I operate and about how I interact with people, that first of all, I can often own it out loud, which I never could have done, saying, I'm feeling really hurt by that, or I feel really upset about that when you did that, and that's not just with my partner, with my friends as well. Something might have happened and I said, felt whatever, I kind of felt left out there or something like that. I don't know what it is. It could have been, but just having the ability to be able to manage it and to cope with it. I think I get the greatest help. I do a lot of self-reflection, probably too much, but I do that. And I think from that comes the ability to kind of talk to other people about things, which is so different. I think most of us are quite lonely in our feelings when we're drinking, and in
Mm,
early recovery. We're quite
mm.
lonely people. We may well have been, surrounded by families and things, but I think fundamentally we're quite lonely people. And just having the ability now to sort of own up that I'm feeling this way, ring somebody up, say, look, I'm feeling this way, what do you think? And just getting reassurance or getting advice or guidance, for me, that's usually brings me back to ground level again. And there was something you said, which hopefully you'll say again, because it'll trigger my mind, because I've forgotten what it was, which is, I can't remember what it was now, but if you say it again, I will remember
I'm just
it,
going to say at this
obviously.
point, right, we've been doing this podcast for 7.5 years. We're a bit older. I'm in the menopause. Frankly, it's amazing we remember anything. Honestly, and we're at
Well,
the part where I'm like, I make notes to myself because I'm like, oh, I must mention that. Because my
yeah,
memory, I have the memory of like, I don't know, an
absolutely.
ant.
A goldfish, yeah. And who apparently do think that apparently their memories are so bad that they do think every time they go around a bowl that it's the first time they've ever done it. Apparently, I was hearing the other day. But yeah, I'm getting, I've got to an age I thought I would never get to. And we might get a bit sidetracked here, but when people of 77 die, it isn't front page news. It's on page 25 in a tiny little column at the bottom saying, and so 77, it's not even 77, 70 years old, died. Nobody goes, holy crap, good God, that's extraordinary. And so I'm definitely in that
Are you
age bracket.
77 now?
Yeah, 77 and a bloody half, actually. So yes,
Jeez.
so nobody's going to be stunned when I die. Well, you don't look 77. I may know that I don't look 77, but I am, and I have the appropriate responses. So, but to digress, I think is
So
that
what do you think, like, let's talk about what you think helped you. Like, I mean, it was just, I want to say it sort of happens in phases, doesn't it? It's like
therapy helped me. Therapy definitely helped me.
So someone sort of telling me at the beginning, this is normal. Like this
Yeah,
emotional roller coaster is normal, and
yeah.
it will even out, and you'll get, like, knowing that helped. But I think what, like, in terms of skills, being able to have boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and for me it was dealing with resentments, which revealed to me that nothing was personal. That created a shift in my perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to, so a lot of what we're talking about is there's an outside trigger, right? Somebody will do something, someone will say,
Sure.
there'll be an event, and we have an emotional response to that event. And that emotional response is based on a story that you're telling yourself that's usually based in childhood, right?
Yeah.
That's the dynamic you've got to unpick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll react to everything as a child, like a 10-year-old is ruining your life. So unpicking that dynamic is what began to change me, which it was the not taking things personally was the one big life-changing thing that happened for me. Like that is the thing. When I began to see, when you did something or said something, I would always interpret that was what you said about being very sensitive. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You did or said something, and I made that personal about, you didn't like me, you're disappointed in me, whatever, which would then have an emotional reaction. Unpicking that, go, oh no, it's just Chip being Chip.
Yes.
In fact, I'm just going to say, I think I may have had that conversation back in the day where I was
Probably.
worried that I'm going to say, I know that happened, where I was worried that I disappointed you or upset you. So, it's just Chip being Chip. I was like, yeah, just ignore him.
Yeah,
so I was
ignore
like,
him.
oh. And now I know it's just Chip being Chip. It's funny.
That's what most people do. Yeah, I think, okay, what helped me? Therapy definitely helped me. Learning about where these things came from. Why am I frightened of abandonment? Why does that one stand out? Okay, well, if I go back through my childhood and my early life, it's absolutely crystal clear why I'm frightened of abandonment, because I was abandoned in the most awful ways many times by the people who should have been looking after me better. And so when I kind of did that work about looking back over, people always say to me, why are we looking back over my childhood? Why are we going in therapy? But, people go, why am I looking back? I came to you with a problem about what's going on today, and you're asking me to go back to my childhood, my parents. Why are we doing that? And I usually say, because that's where most of the clues are. The first 15 years of our life are when our main character defects and personality is laid down when we're not able to be independent and we're completely reliant on the people around us. And if those people behave in a certain way, we react in a certain way, and those things become ingrained into us as people. And then we take that person into adult life. And unless you do therapy and self-reflective things, you're probably going to be stuck with those things. And I think, so where does my fear of abandonment comes from? The fact that I was abandoned at boarding school and all that sort of stuff and not looked up. Why am I frightened of female criticism? Because my mother was a very critical person who, never said anything nice to me. Why am I impatient? Actually, I don't know why I'm impatient. Probably because that's probably built of years of addiction where you had to get your drugs there, and I don't know where it comes from, but I know that I am impatient. But I just think having knowledge about where these things come from gives you the ability to then, I can choose to do something about it. I can choose whether I want to, why am I so filled with resentment at the world? Well, let's have a look at what happened and then learn. And I think the more you learn, the more you go, okay, that makes sense. And, so I think therapy and continuing the process of sort of just trying, not just letting things happen and forgetting about them. At the end of the day, kind of going, why did I do that? I do have a kind of process where I go to bed at night and I kind of just reflect over the day and I go, well, why did I behave? Why did I react like that there? And why did I say that? Not in a kind of completely kind of over the top analysis of everything I did, but if something big has happened during the day, I will sort of think, why did I do that? And then I'll go, okay, yeah, I get it. I get that and that and that. And, sometimes I'll come up and thinking, well, you were a bit of a prat that day, or you could have done this or you could have done that. I think it's learning that we are, without doubt, flawed human beings who are going to display strong feelings from time to time. Often for people who don't have therapy or don't do this sort of work that's been done by people who are prepared to listen to podcasts. Why are you listening to podcasts? Because you want to learn about yourself. You want to learn about how other people work and how you match up against them and how you relate to them. And, often I'll hear people say to me, I listened to that podcast, I really related to this and this, and that kind of getting validation for the way that you feel from listening to other people was so important to me. For sort of, maybe at a meeting or listening to a podcast or something and hearing somebody say, I felt such and such a way when that happened. And I go, God, so did I. And that sort of getting validation for the way I felt didn't make me feel like a freak. I realized that other people feel this way as well. And that helped a lot because I thought, I'm the only person who feels this way. Nobody feels things like I do. And then I discovered actually loads of people behave like I do. Loads of people react like I do. Loads of people feel like I feel. They're just choosing not to use on it. I spend a lot of my time, not a lot of my time, why do I behave this way? And I think I've got the answers to most of them in my life. I don't think I'm ever surprised sometimes, although I do get surprised sometimes by how, yeah.
It's just all childhood, isn't it? It's just always childhood. And you've got to unpick that a little bit and understand it. Now, this lady was saying, particularly in romantic relationships, and that's the thing. Nothing will trigger you more than romantic relationships. And so many people, when I felt like this, I want to say I hit my emotional, I've talked about this a lot, I hit an emotional rock bottom at 3 years sober, and it was all to do with romantic relationships. And I was 6 years sober when I met my husband. I could be totally fine in all areas of my life. Like really, I could deal with people. But then in that first sort of 3 or 4 years of sobriety, when I had a romantic relationship, I was just like a helpless, needy child again. Oh. Like it was just in this one area. And it's because I think romantic relationships trigger unresolved childhood pain.
Absolutely.
Unresolved childhood wounds. Yeah. And that's why you're having those reactions. And again, just like Chip and I said, if our spouse is left, we have the appropriate emotional responses. 25, 30 years ago, I don't know how I would carry on living. And I know that I would now. And I know, I have kids, but even beyond that,
Sure. I know that I had this. How did I react to my first abandonment in a romantic relationship? I fell apart. I cried
In sobriety.
in sobriety.
Yeah, same as me.
I was 42 years old and I cried for 3 weeks. And everywhere I went, all I could do was talk about what had happened and how it had happened and what had happened. And I behaved like a small, like I'd expect a 12-year-old. I mean, I used to moon about outside her house in the off chance she might see me. And then, as a result of seeing me, change her mind. Oh my God.
I used to write a really long, heartfelt letter.
Oh
my God. I would always write a letter about, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
I'm so embarrassed by things. I bought a really expensive pen. It was her birthday was coming up. We had split up.
I do that. Buy a gift.
Yeah. And I'd bought her a really expensive, and she came round for something, and I said, "Oh, here's your birthday present." And she said, "I said, oh, I'd already bought it before. I might as well give it to you." No, but what I was hoping was going to happen was that she was going to open the present and go, "Oh my God, I've made such a mistake.
Can I live without you?
Can I? Yeah, exactly." And of course, she went, "Thanks very much," and walked out with a nice pen.
It's such a child thing, is it? I did this. I'd write a long letter. I'd inconvenience myself with something. Go on, just pass it. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
In that hope that they would just have that, but what we're just communicating our neediness, which is really unattractive.
It is unattractive, and it is. But I work on the principle that practically all our kind of traits and everything are laid down in the first 15, 16 years of our life. And I'll often say to clients, we're going to do a lot of work on that because that's where all the clues are. That's where all the information is. Look back over there, see what happened, see how you were treated, and you'll find all the answers there. And also, I also say, listen, we'll do work together and, we'll get a lot better. But don't ever come to me and think that I am going to be able to help you remove that fear or that anxiety or that feeling. I can't do that. You are going to probably display that feeling that you've come here with, anxiety. Okay, whatever. Okay, we can make loads of progress on that. Can I remove anxiety from you completely as an individual? No, I can't. I can't do that. And it doesn't matter how clean you get.
Because you actually need it. You need it. It's not like we don't it's a message, it's data, it's information. Yeah. The problem is they all get these feelings got out of balance. And they're just so out of balance we can't read them. We need anxiety. If we didn't have fear and anxiety, we wouldn't survive as a species.
No, we wouldn't. No, it's it's built into our DNA, thankfully. Yeah. But
they're guidance systems.
I think something you said earlier on, and I didn't write it down, but I have remembered it, is, I'll quickly say it before I forget it, but how often these feelings make us feel childish.
Yes.
And
we go into child.
Yeah. And it's not attractive. As you said, it's not attractive. It's not, I don't want to be childish. I don't want to be hurt like a little child. I want to be above that and I want to rise. But most of the things that really make us feelings that we have, and it's funny how we always talk about negative feelings, for want of a better phrase, that we get in recovery. But, there are a lot of really positive feelings that I get in recovery that I never had before, like amazing happiness, contentment, a feeling of safety, a feeling of being loved, a feeling of kind of all those things. I'd never had that before. I'm still capable of sometimes if my wife says something to me of kind of getting hurt by it, I'm still capable of that. And I don't like that kind of, that I become a little boy and I kind of wanting to say, "Oh, please tell me that you love me." I don't like that.
It's not, it's not attractive.
It's not attractive.
In an adult, it's not.
But it happens to me, it gets to me. And thankfully, I'm in a program or an activity that doesn't laugh at me for saying that says, well, you could probably maybe have a look at that a different way or something. But I've found people and I've found places where I can be authentic. I can be myself. Obviously, there are boardroom meetings or whatever, I don't know, where somebody might say something and you feel hurt. Well, if you were to say, I'm really hurt by what you said, it's really upset me, you're not going to get very far. You have to kind of learn to be able to hold on to some feelings for a little bit until a more appropriate environment arrives, and you can then say, in that meeting, I got really hurt by that. But there is something about, I think, if we take the premise that all feelings, significant sort of personality traits are laid down in our early childhood, obviously, as an adult, when we get triggered, we go back to our childhood. And I hate the fact that I need reassurance sometimes. I hate that. It feels pathetic. It feels childish. But I do sometimes. I like a bit of reassurance, and I thrive on it, and it makes me feel fantastic. I wish I was a wonderfully complete individual who never needed reassurance, who never needed anything. But I think in order to get some of the good stuff, sometimes you have to have some of the... But I also yesterday Heidi gave me a present. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. It's a sculpture, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I was so overcome with kind of, oh my God, I can't believe that you've done that. It was just such a lovely thing, and it made me feel so warm and lovely and loved and cared for. And yeah, I like that. And I don't, in a way, I was sort of saying, Chloe, don't worry about these. Don't worry about the fact that the very fact that woman, Chloe, wrote that email, was able to identify the things that she gets into trouble about, to me, were very healthy. It was a very healthy email to write.
That's progress.
Yeah, like exactly.
She's taken responsibility. She's revealed some things about herself. She kind of knows there's some threads she needs to follow. Doesn't know quite what they are yet, but real progress. Yeah,
I think
well done,
so,
Chloe.
Too. Yeah, really. I think that's a really healthy thing to do. And I think even in recovery, there are still lots and lots of us, myself included, who are not always, open about and on top of our feelings as we would like to be and should be or whatever. And there are definitely expectations, I think, on people who work in the field or who have reached a certain age in recovery, where people feel that, I remember when I was running Focus, and you would know, I remember once I got really angry in a community meeting about something that had happened. And I was running the halfway house, that's right. Something had happened, and I got really angry. I went into the community meeting and I said, look, I was genuinely and legitimately angry about what had happened. And I remember overhearing somebody afterwards saying, my God, you see Chip, he got really angry. And I thought, well, of course I did. It was, of course, what do you think? You think I don't get angry about things? Luckily, I don't get angry about many things, but
I would never have said you were an angry person.
No, I don't.
No.
I hope that's good to hear. I don't think I'm an angry person.
Impatient, I can definitely see that.
Impatient,
one, but
definitely.
Angry, no. But I can also see. I don't know. My experience of you, you were very aware of it, and you could sort of laugh at yourself about it quite a lot. I would say it was not out. I'd say you were impatient, but it wasn't out of balance.
Right.
Okay, you knew when you're like, oh, I'm being impatient here. I just got to chill, right? Like that, and that's what we're talking about. It's like once you've got that awareness, it's like, okay, I'm being impatient here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cool my jets. And I never would have described you as being. I don't think I'm angry either. I don't think that would be a characteristic anyone would say about me.
Yeah.
Until recently. Oh my God! Oh my gosh! I'm going to tell you now. Talking about awareness, and we'll wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah.
The anger, it's not anger, it's like rage. And so it's hard to describe. It is like, I'm aware that what I'm feeling is not rational or real.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also aware that it's very, very strong. Like over the weekend, little things my family did, I wanted to smash windows. And I felt quite justified in that. And I also was aware that I was being irrational. And was able to say, I just need time to myself for a couple of hours, menopausal stuff. And my husband goes, okay. And so I have to have time out from people, which I've never been that kind of person. And then that I can then be back to myself and rational. So, but I'm really aware of it. And I know I've not acted up, a couple of times I've shouted at my kids and been like, that was really, and I have to apologize and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, all I've got is the sort of awareness of it and making attempts not to act on it, and then taking what I need to take care of myself.
Yeah, but there's an element of that is almost beyond your control.
Yeah, it doesn't. You feel like you just have to ride it out. You can't switch it off.
Yeah, I mean, to say to somebody, "Oh, stop being so menopausal," it's like,
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah,
You sure you want? You sure you want to continue with that conversation? Because it is sort of, I mean, it's something that's almost out of your control, isn't it? And but I mean, again, you are able to identify what's going on, and take appropriate action, which is to, a baseball bat probably comes in handy, but just to warn those around you, or to be aware. I mean, Heidi's going through it, and I know that sometimes, that's an interesting one where I don't go, "Oh, what's the matter? What have I done wrong?" Well, no, I haven't done anything wrong. She's hurting, or she's struggling with what's going on. And I think it's about allowing yourself to be perfectly normal, perfectly human, and know that feelings are going to be, I'm getting to the age now where people are dying, and I feel very sad about it. I have really sad feelings. An appropriate emotional response, and I'm dreading some of my friends, myself included. I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, on that note.
On that happy note.
So, thank you, Chloe, for sending this through. We would love to, like I said, email info@soberful.com if you have any questions or things that you want to talk about. Hopefully that was helpful, and that it's normal, it's going to get better, there's things you can do, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next week on the Soberful podcast.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
I dreamt that you were twisting through 7 suns of gold, and the gypsy was insisting that its story must be told. I came to